What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is James from CopLogic, and we're back with more transfer news. You might remember last week I very briefly mentioned Crysencio Summerville from Leeds in a video, and I said I would update you guys if there was anything more substantial on that, and we have had over the weekend some more substantial progress in terms of Crysencio Summerville from the man himself, Fabrizio Romano. So we're going to dive into that today, but as always, guys, just before we jump into it, just to remind you, please hit like on the video if you are enjoying the content. It really helps us out, and if you're not subscribed already but you want to stay up to date with everything going on with Liverpool Football Club in terms of this upcoming transfer window, if you want to get the news that is based on facts and not just rumors, then this is the place to be. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Now, without further ado, let's get into this story surrounding Crysencio Summerville. We'll start with the tweet from Fabrizio Romano, which reads, Chelsea and Liverpool are still keeping a close eye to Crysencio Summerville's situation at Leeds United. Both clubs have been monitoring him this season and showing interest in recent weeks. Nothing advanced yet, but talks for the Dutch winger are expected to begin soon. Again, that's from Fabrizio Romano, top tier journalism there, so no worries on the legitimacy of the claim. I think obviously we're expecting talks to begin. That'll be when the transfer window opens. Now, the fact that Chelsea are also interested does throw a little bit of a spanner in the works, because we already know, as Liverpool fans especially, how things go when you're in a transfer battle with Chelsea. We've seen it with Caicedo and we've seen it with Lavia. I mean, thankfully we came out on the better side of those deals, but at the time it was pretty grim. You know, that moment when we thought we had Caicedo and then we woke up in the morning to find out that he was going to Chelsea anyway. That was a crazy period, one of the most mental transfer windows I've ever seen, I think. And we could face that again, because of course Todd Bowley's still there. He's still going to be playing a fool. So, you know, it doesn't fill me with confidence that Chelsea are also interested, but that seems to always be the case now. Chelsea seem to be interested in absolutely everyone that we look at. I think mainly because Todd Bowley hasn't got a clue what he's doing, and they are possibly the worst run football club in the league. But that's not what we're here to discuss today. We're here to discuss Summerville. So let's take a look at him first of all. Obviously, he plays for Leeds United. He can play on the left wing and the right wing. Now, initially when I spoke about him, it was presumed that he was going to be a Salah rotation option, and that could still very much be the case because he can play on the right wing. He has primarily been playing on the left wing for Leeds United though. But what's interesting, I think, in recent days now, I mean, I say recent days, has been going on for a while, but I think recently we're starting to see a little bit more heat on the Luis Diaz to Barcelona story. And I really believe we haven't heard the last of that yet. I'm not saying he's going to go, but I think his situation could change things in terms of what Liverpool have to do in the transfer window. And that does make Summerville a prime target, because not only then is he an option as a rotation for Mohamed Salah, but he can also play on that left wing if we need someone there. And we don't necessarily, even if Diaz goes, we've got Gakpo can play on the left wing, we've got Jota can play on the left wing, and we've still got Darwin Núñez who can play on the left wing as well. So, but obviously, like, to replace him like for like, Summerville is certainly an option, and that could be one of the reasons why we're still looking at him strongly, because this Diaz to Barcelona story hasn't gone away. And I am going to do a separate video on Luis Diaz sometime this week, so definitely stay tuned, subscribe to the channel if you want to see that, because that story is by far not finished. But in terms of Summerville, he has at the moment a predicted market value of 20 million, but there's no way that is the price he's going to go for. We're expecting Leeds to demand around 30 to 40 million for him, and then if Chelsea get involved, you absolutely never know where that could go, unfortunately. Now, he's an ex-Feyenoord player. He's Dutch. He's not a Dutch international, as far as I can tell. He doesn't have any caps, but he has played for the Dutch national youth team. But we do know that Arne Slot is a big fan of him, obviously having seen him at his days of Feyenoord and followed him on his journey through Leeds United as well. So he's a big fan of him, and that maybe has some influence on a potential decision this summer. Obviously, we know the structure at Liverpool has changed massively this summer, with Richard Hughes coming in as sporting director, and we've got head of sporting operations Michael Edwards as well there. So Slot's not going to have a huge say in what players come in, but he will have a say. You know, if Liverpool are looking at a player like Summerville and Slot says, I want a player like Summerville, then that's going to give him good chances at, you know, being a primary target. And I think his ability to play on the left wing and the right wing also helps with that, because again, Mo Salah rotation and potential Luis Diaz replacement, depending on what happens there. He's only 22 years old, which is really young, to be honest. Plenty of time there to develop him and improve him and mold him into the player you want. For example, if you want him on the right wing, primarily left wing at the moment, but he's plenty young enough that we can develop that into a player that we need. And as long as we've got the rotation options, which right now we do with Mo Salah, then that's not an issue at all. He's 5'7", and I know that's not like a huge deal with forwards. A lot of the smaller forwards are particularly historically some of the best in the world. Mo Salah, for example, Lionel Messi. So height I know is not like a big factor here, but for Liverpool it kind of is, because Liverpool lately have been targeting players over 6 foot, and that includes in forward positions, for example, Cody Gakpo and Darwin Núñez. So interesting there that he is on the smaller side. He's actually a little bit smaller even than Luis Diaz. So just to give you an idea there, but again, not the most important thing. I think it's just about being a threat from set pieces, which, you know, what we really need right now is a goal scorer, to be honest with you. And I'll probably get into that when I talk about Luis Diaz, but his numbers haven't been great this season. Speaking of numbers, 49 appearances for Summerville this season, 21 goals in all competitions and 10 assists. So that's a return of 31 GA for the season. That's the exact same GA as Darwin Núñez has had at Liverpool this season. He's done it on slightly less appearances. Obviously, the interesting thing is it absolutely eclipses Luis Diaz's GA. So if this is someone we're looking at as a potential replacement for Luis Diaz, if he does go to Barcelona, then we could potentially be getting a better player. Now, of course, you have to consider that he's playing currently in the Championship with Leeds United, so different level of competition. But the numbers are much, much better than what we're seeing at the moment from Luis Diaz. He excels in 1v1 situations. He's physically strong. He's a good dribbler, and he's a clinical finisher. And to me, that reminds me of Sadio Mane in terms of his ability in 1v1s, the strong physicality of the player, and he's a clinical finisher, which I think is what we are. It's the key thing we're missing from Luis Diaz at the moment. The guy just doesn't score enough goals. That's a simple fact when you look at the stats. You know, we could see an improvement over Luis Diaz. There is definitely someone out there, I think, that could improve this team on that left wing. That's my opinion on it. But I think originally when I was looking at the Summerville thing, to me it felt like this was a potential player to come in instead of, for example, a Michael Olise that we've also been looking at. Someone to come in on the right side to rotate with Mo Salah. It looks like Olise is potentially going to go to Manchester United. We'll wait and see on that. But I think Summerville is that player. But I think the situation with Luis Diaz could change things. So we'll wait and see on that. In terms of his speed, because it's interesting there, the 1v1 situation's physically strong and everything. He's not the fastest. I mean, he's not slow by any means. Don't take that the wrong way. But he's not, his top register speed, for example, is just shorter than Luis Diaz's. He registered 34.8 kilometers per hour this season as his top speed, compared to Luis Diaz at 36.4. So, you know, that's eclipsed by the likes of your Darwin Núñez's and your Mo Salah's, who are some of the faster players in the Premier League. But that's not, again, the be-all and end-all. And I actually think we could see a system change under Arne Slot that may even make that redundant. We know he likes to play with an out-and-out number 9 at the top and then 3 players behind that in a more of a supporting role. And he could well fit into that. Again, he's not slow. Don't say that the wrong way. I'm just saying he hasn't hit the top speeds of Luis Diaz this season, and certainly not the likes of Darwin Núñez. So take what you will from that. I think his ability on the ball and the fact that he's way more clinical, he's not afraid to take shots, that's the big improvement, and that's the big improvement that we need to see from Luis Diaz, or from a replacement for Luis Diaz if he does leave the club. In terms of whether I want him, because I think that's the important thing, right? Let me know in the comments what you guys feel. Do you want to see Summerville at the club? Would you be happy with it as a signing? I think, look, Liverpool are going to prioritise a centre-back this season, and then what happens after that, we'll wait and see. Could very well be dependent on what happens with some of the players going out the door. But if this was to happen, you know, at the moment I'm not fully convinced, but I think at 22 years old, plenty of room there for improvement. As long as the price is right, and if we get into a big battle with Chelsea, I'd just let it go. Same as we did with Caicedo and Lavia. But if the price is right, I think he's young enough that there's plenty of time there to develop him, and we have the rotation options. As I mentioned, Jota, Gakpo and Núñez can all play on that left side. So, you know, I wouldn't worry too much about that, even if Diaz does go. And of course, if Diaz doesn't go, then that's another one to add into the mix there. So, you know, it's definitely a project player at 22 years old. It's someone that Slot can develop. He obviously likes the look of him. He knows the player. So, look, if this is a player that Michael Edwards deems good for Liverpool, and it's a player that Arne Slot wants at the club, then I think go for it. You know, I think the age is brilliant. The potential is definitely there. So let's see what happens. But like I said at the top of the video, talks are expected to begin soon. So nothing major is happening on this, but it has been a major development in that we now know Liverpool are definitely confirmed with interest in the player. So we'll wait and see what happens when the window opens. If you want to stay up to date with everything that is going to be going on when that window opens, make sure you hit subscribe on the video right now. And don't forget, guys, to let me know in the comments what you think about Summerville. Do you want him at the club? Make sure you like the video. And as always, thank you very much for watching. We will see you guys in the next video. Peace.